Hey guys, how's it going? Zach Butler YGO here. We're going to do some combos with the Dark World deck that I showed you in the previous video. Since you guys seem to enjoy these kind of combo videos, I figured it'd be a good chance to do one. And this is kind of like one of those perfect decks that, if you ever see me when I'm traveling, you'll notice I'm usually shuffling a deck of cards and messing around. It's usually a deck like the Dark World deck, actually, that I'm messing with because it's pretty easy to play and mess around with when you're hanging out by yourself and you just want to mess around with some combos. So we'll just go ahead and give it a quick shuffle. We're going to cut it in half here and we're going to take off one off the top. So let's see how we do, and one of these dice will stay on the field center to represent how many cards my opponent has in their hand. So let's say they start off with their usual 5, and we draw Gates of Dark World, Snow, Silva, Nessie, and Accession. So that's actually a pretty solid opening hand. It could be a little bit better, but we'll get there, I'm sure. So I think I would lead with activating the Gates of Dark World just to get it out of the hand, and then we're going to activate our Danger Nessie, actually. Hopefully we hit a Snow, because I think that's probably the ideal hit, but Silva's also okay. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, and we actually hit the Nessie itself, so not so great there, but that is okay, because we're going to go ahead and activate its effect and grab Danger Mothman. The reason for grabbing Danger Mothman here is that even if we hit the Mothman itself, we will be able to then utilize the Mothman's effect to draw and discard a card, which will get us to the rest of our engine. So no matter what happens here with the Mothman, we will continue to get through our deck. And we're going to take off 3 off the top, and then we're going to go ahead and use Mothman's effect. And let's see how we do here. 1 through 4, and we hit pull 5, sure, and we rolled 2. So 1, 2, whoop. And we have our Mothman, Accession, Snow, and we actually discarded our Silva. So we will draw off the Mothman, we'll draw Archives. Silva will then special summon itself out, and now we have to think about how we want to do this. So we have a number of different options here, actually. Because the Archives being in our hand, actually, that changes a lot for us, potentially. So what we can do is, you could obviously link these into something and then just get rid of the Silva and banish it that way. But what I think the better play to do is to actually activate Dark World Archives, and you'll use Dark World Archives effect to discard Snow, because that will give the Silva attack equal to the Snow's level times 100, so it'll give it 400 extra attack. Not that that matters. We're actually doing that so that way the Snow will trigger, but then we're also going to use Archives. So we'll have Snow be Chainlink 1 because it's discarded by a card effect, and Archives be Chainlink 2, and we'll discard, let's make sure, yeah, discard 1 card, then draw 2 cards. So we'll discard the Accession, and we will draw a Radiant and Zephyros. So not good draws, but that's okay, because Snow will get us to Genta. And that is going to be the key there, because now we're actually able to utilize the rest of our deck. So then we will use Genta's effect, discarding itself, to add the Gates of Dark World to our hand. So now we have yet another copy of the Gates of Dark World, which is going to be fantastic, because we're going to utilize the first one here in just a moment. Cut again, and we'll take off 1 off the top. We're going to use the Gates of Dark World, and we're going to banish our Genta. And then we'll discard Radiant, since it's a Fiend monster, and we will draw into a Danger Thunderbird. Genta will then trigger to special summon itself, so now we have these 3 monsters on the field, as well as Zephyros, Gates, and Thunderbird in our hand. So then how do I want to do this? Because the main thing here is you want to get Zephyros into your graveyard, so you could actually normal summon the Zephyros and overlay it with the Mothman. You could do that. You could also use your Thunderbird. That's a little risky. I don't really like that line. So what I think is the best thing to do is we're going to get to Gentas. We're going to get to more Gentas anyway. So I think we'll overlay and we'll summon number 60, Dagaris the Timeless. We'll activate Dagaris, detaching both materials. We'll draw 2, which will get us to Dark Spirit's Mastery and to another Genta, and then we'll discard Zephyros. So now that gets us to the Dark Spirit's Mastery, which is going to be great because that is going to be one of the keys to getting further into our deck. So we're going to use Dark Spirit's Mastery, and I would discard, I don't really want to discard the Danger Thunderbird, but I think it's probably the best thing to discard here. And we're going to actually add Rainbow over King of Dark World to our hand. So you might be wondering, why do we discard the Danger Thunderbird there? Because Genta can get us to another Gates, and then obviously the Gates in our hand hasn't been used yet. And we're going to go ahead and activate Genta to get to our third copy of Gates, meaning that we've now gone through all three copies, or all three copies are no longer in the deck, so we don't have to worry about that, which is always good, because that means we can maximize the amount of cards we're going to get in our draws and our searches. We're going to take 3 off the top. So now we'll activate the second Gates of Dark World, and we're going to banish our... Actually, before you even use the second Gates of Dark World, you could argue actually to use the Zephyros to bounce the first Gates of Dark World. That is something to consider. But I think I want to save that. I think I want to save that for a more key effect. So we're going to use the second Gates of Dark World here, and then we're going to banish a copy of Radiant, since that is not something we're ever going to be able to recur. We're going to discard Rainbow, and we're going to draw into our second Silva. Rainbow will then get us to Grapha. So now we're going to get that far. This hand is not looking too great, but I think we're going to be able to get there anyway. We're going to definitely be trying, that's for certain. So now, let's go ahead and activate our third Gates of Dark World, and we're going to use the third Gates, banishing a copy of Genta once more, and we'll discard Grapha, and we'll draw a card into charge into a Dark World, which is probably, honestly, the ideal thing to draw here, because we're going to go charge into a Dark World, and we're going to special summon back our Snow. And then we have to discard a Fiend monster. That's fine, because we have Silva, which we can discard, special summon it back. So now we can actually return the Snow to our hand to special summon Rainbow. And then we can return the Rainbow to special summon the Grapha. So now we have Snow and Rainbow in our hand. We can go ahead and return the Gates of Dark World to special summon the Zephyros. We'll take 400 damage in the process. Not a big deal by any means. And we will go ahead and activate the Gates of Dark World. So from here, let's go ahead and activate the Gates of Dark World. And we're going to banish the Genta. And we can discard our Snow and draw into a copy of Ceruli, which not the best, but that's fine. And then Snow will get us to a copy of Rainbow. So now we're pretty much at the point where we're just going to start looping stuff, which is not the worst thing in the world. Remember too, we also have our Dark World Accession engraved, which is actually what we're going to use really quick here. We're going to activate Dark World Accession, and we're going to discard Rainbow. Rainbow will then add a copy of Grapha to our hand, which is fantastic because now we have an additional copy of Grapha. And now here we will return the Silva to hand to special summon the Rainbow. And then, let's see, you have quite a number of options here actually. You can go, let's go into a link summon of, I'm trying to think if I want to go, so there's a few options here actually. Let's reset our field. So we have this now. We want to start with the looping effects. So we either need to get to the point where we either need to clear one of these bodies or just get to the point where we can start looping. So I think actually what I would do here, just to clear the body, is link those two into Nightmare, Phoenix, or Unicorn. It doesn't really matter. And activate Dark World Accession. Because remember, you can only use each effect once per turn. So now we will discard Cerealia and Grapha, which then will trigger the Cerealia to special summon itself to the opponent's field, which will trigger its effect, and we can discard our Silva, special summon Silva, and now we can send back 2 cards from our opponent's hand, so they have 3 now. And you'll make sure that you summon your Cerealia into the zone where the Nightmare Phoenix is pointing to. And that's really key, actually, that you make sure you're doing it there, because, or into the other side in the extra monster zone, because you want to make sure you can return it with your copy of the Akashic Magician. But now we're going to return Silva to our hand and summon our Grapha out. And now we can overlay the 3 level 8s to make Coach King Giant Trainer. Use Coach King Giant Trainer's effect once, draw into a Danger Nessie, your opponent takes 800 damage, use it again, draw into Radiant, your opponent takes 800 damage, and we'll use it one more time, draw into Card Destruction, and your opponent, once again, takes 800 damage. Which is pretty ridiculous, if you ask me. Being able to do that does not seem fair. So now we have a few different ways we can go about this. We can return Silva to our hand to special summon out Rainbow one more time, return Rainbow to summon Grapha, and now we have 2 Fiends, so we can actually link them together to make Akashic Magician. And Akashic Magician will return this really to hand. So now you have a hand of Card Destruction and 7 other cards. So you can set the Card Destruction if you'd like, and go ahead and use Danger Nessie here, which is what I think we're gonna do. So 1 through 2, 3, 4, 6, 7. Oh, there's 7 actually, yeah. So we're just gonna shuffle up and we're gonna pick a random card here. So let's go with this one. So we discarded Silva, not the greatest, but that's okay. Draw a card off of Nessie and we draw into Danger Chupacabra. Silva will then summon itself back. Totally fine, because then we can return Silva to our hand yet again to summon out Grapha. Now, what we can do here is we will link the Nessie and the Grapha together to make the Muckracker from the Underworld. Or do you even want to use that? Actually, oh, there's supposed to be a... We used a session. There's supposed to be a Grapha Fusion. So Grapha Fusion's supposed to be here too. My apologies. That's supposed to be here. Back when we did that the first time, we used a session, we discarded Grapha and Cerealia. This was supposed to be here in this zone. So this is, before we do anything else, this is actually our field layout at this point. Which, that's just as ridiculous. Arguably more, because now you have protection from if they somehow draw into an Nibiru in some crazy world. But what I would do here, I think, actually, is to link the Danger Nessie and the Akashic Magician into a copy of Muckracker from the Underworld. We'll use Muckracker's effect, and we will target... What do we want to target? We'll target... It's just any fiend, right? Tribute 1 fiend. Yep, sorry, 1 fiend monster in your graveyard. So we're actually going to go ahead and target our Snow, and we're going to discard Cerealia, special summon the Snow, which will then trigger Cerealia to special summon itself, which will then trigger Cerealia's effect on field, discarding Silva, special summoning the Silva, reducing your opponent's hand by 2 more cards, so now they have 1 card in hand, and you can continue your plays from there. You can return Snow to your hand to special summon Grapha, if you would like. You could at this point arguably just stop too, because your opponent's probably going to be dead. They're going to have 1 card in hand, but we want to get them to 0. So we're going to activate Card Destruction, discarding 6, and drawing 6 new cards. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And there is the last bit of our combo, which is the Triple Tactics Talent. Unfortunately, the Silvas will not be able to meet their trigger, neither will the Chupacabra, because your zones are full, but Snow can add a copy of Genta to your hand. So you'll actually have 7 cards in hand if you'd like, and you still have Allure, Dark Spirit's Mastery, and Trade-In your deck to search for off of your Triple Tactics Thrust if you want. But since your opponent has a monster that has activated its effect this turn in your Cirilla, you're going to activate Triple Tactics Talent and remove that last card in their hand. So now they're going to have to answer your entire field, which does have a negation, with just one card. So that's hand number 1. Sorry that took so long. This deck can take quite a while because there's so many different little intricacies you could do there. Like, I probably could have done that better. I'm sure there's a way I could have ended with number 38 as well if I was thinking about it a little bit more deeply. But we'll do one more hand and we'll just go from there. So like I said, if you guys like this sort of deck, let me know. I really enjoy these kinds of really intricate combo decks where you can do a lot with them. And what's really cool about this deck too is that it is a very budget-friendly deck. Obviously, Triple Tactics Thrust there is not the most budget-friendly card, but even with that, if you look at the overall cost of the deck, it's actually very cheap, which is something I really like to see. I know a lot of players play on a pretty strict budget, so being able to have those kinds of cards or have these kinds of decks be so powerful and available to them is really great. So our current hand now is Allure, Snow, Mothman, Thrust, and Bigfoot. Pretty good opening hand, honestly. I think I would lead with the Allure just because I want to see as many cards as I can right away. So we draw Gates of Darkworld and Danger Chupacabra. That makes it a little difficult, actually. I think I would banish the Danger Chupacabra. And I'm going to go ahead and activate the Gates of Darkworld, and we're going to set the Thrust, and we're going to go ahead and activate Danger Mothman. You could argue, actually, to discard or to banish the Danger Bigfoot. That might be better, just because then if the Mothman has to discard, or if the Mothman doesn't work, you have another small danger that's also a Fiend. But we're going to go with the Bigfoot. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Roll our die. We hit a 5, and we discard Snow. That's kind of the ideal card to discard, honestly. So we draw into Genta, and Snow will trigger, which will get us to a copy of... I know I want to get to that hand loop as soon as I can, so we're going to go ahead and add a copy of Rainbow to our hand. And now we're going to go ahead and activate Genta's effect, banish or discarding itself, to add the Gates of Darkworld to our hand. So now we've got that going as well, which means that we're going to get to our level 4 access, which means that if we need to make a Dagaris, we have that. If we need to make our Nightmare, we have that. So we have everything we need pretty much to get to the full combo. We just need to get there. So now we'll use the Gates of Darkworld, and we'll end up banishing our Genta, discarding our Rainbow, and we draw into Allure of Darkness. Then Rainbow and Genta will both activate. I would chain block with the Genta to make sure that the Rainbow will go through, and we will add Grapha or Dragon Lord of Darkworld to our hand. So now we are even further into our deck, which is pretty ideal. Go ahead and cut, even though it's not going to matter, because we're going to go ahead and activate our Rainbow, returning Genta to our hand and adding it to our hand, or to special summon our Genta or our Rainbow once more. Then we're going to go ahead and activate Genta yet again to add the last copy of the Gates of Darkworld to our hand. So now we've already gotten to all 3 copies of the Gates of Darkworld, which is absolutely absurd that that's even legal, but we live in this society that we do. So, and we're going to take 5 off the top, and now we're going to use the second Gates of Darkworld, and we're going to use its effect. We'll banish our Genta and discard Grapha, drawing into Dark Spirit's Mastery, which actually is probably the worst thing we can draw right now, but that's okay. We'll use Grapha's effect, returning Rainbow to our hand yet again. And now we can actually go ahead and I think I'm just going to use our Allure of Darkness, and we're going to draw into Danger Nessie and Danger Chupacabra. So we know we've already lost one Chupacabra, so we don't want to do that. So I'm actually going to banish Danger Bigfoot. I want to keep the Chupacabra in our hand, so that way we have it in rotation just in case anything comes up. Just in case we need that kind of powerful effect later on. And our only Fiend Engrave is the Snow Unlight of Darkworld, which is kind of rough. So we need to get this Rainbow effect live immediately. So I don't generally like banishing Snow from my grave, but I'm going to go ahead and do it for Gates of Darkworld here. We'll banish our Snow, we'll discard Rainbow, and we'll draw into Sylva, which is perfect, because now Rainbow can add another copy of the Sylva, Warlord of Darkworld, to our hand, and now all we need to do is get to Ceruli, and our entire deck is online. And there's really nothing to gain off of Dark Spirit's Mastery at this point, other than potentially getting the other Grapha out of the deck, but not that that really matters that much. So we're going to go ahead and use our Danger. So actually, here's something to consider, is you have this Danger Chupacabra in your hand. If you use Danger Nessie and you discard the Chupacabra, then the Chupacabra is just a blank and won't get its effect. If you use Chupacabra and you discard Nessie, then the Nessie can surge. So we'll use Chupacabra's effect first. Chances are we're going to discard a Sylva, though. So we'll go 1 through 5. We'll, till it's flat, we rolled a 3. And actually, I forgot to see how many I take off the top, so we take 6. And this is the card we discard, and we discard the Chupacabra, which is the worst thing we could possibly be discarding, so that's okay. We'll use the Nessie next, because now at least we tried. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hit 2, and we hit the Nessie. Alright, so our luck is not going so well this time. That's okay, though, because Nessie will get us to Mothman. So no matter what now, even if this Mothman misses, we will still surely be able to play the game. And we're going to take off 2. And now we're going to use the Mothman's effect. Shuffle up our hand really quick here. And we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4. And we hit a 4. And we hit the Mothman again. Oh boy. Okay. So Mothman will then activate. We will draw into Genta. And we will discard the Sylva. Sylva will then activate to special summon itself. And now we can activate the Rainbow effect to special summon itself. So, this is tough because now we're really running on fumes. So I think we actually have to normal summon Genta, and we can overlay for our number 60 Dagaris the Timeless. So what we can do here is activate Dagaris and see what we draw. We draw into another Genta, which is not good, and to a Radiant, which is also not good. And we'll discard Sylva, and we'll special summon back the Sylva. So we're not doing so hot here. That is okay though, because we're going to go ahead and we're going to link the 4 monsters together to summon the Saryuja Skuldred. That is our reset button, and we'll go ahead and draw 4. Draw Grapha, Snow, Nessie, and Talents. We will put back the Talents, the Dark Spirit's Mastery, and the Radiant. So now we're going to go ahead and activate our Nessie once more and pray that we hit something good, because if we don't, we are in a bad situation. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That went off the table. 5. All right, we hit Grapha. That is fine. Special summon Nessie, and we draw into Trade-In. Okay. So now we can go ahead and we can special summon Sylva with the Saryuja Skuldred effect, and then we'll return Sylva to our hand to special summon Rainbow. We'll return Rainbow to our hand and special summon Grapha. Now we'll activate Trade-In, discarding the Rainbow, and we will draw into Lava Golem and Danger Thunderbird. Still not great. Going to use Danger Thunderbird's effects. 1 through 5. 5. And we hit Snow. Alright, so that's actually totally fine. Discard Snow, special summon Thunderbird, and we draw into Dark Spirit's Mastery. Snow is going to get us access to... This is tough. This is tough. We're actually going to get access to Charge into a Dark World. And the reason for that is going to be pretty cool, actually. So we're going to use Charge into a Dark World to special summon back our Danger Chupacabra. You can special summon new Danger Chupacabra, or you can special summon back your Snow. And then we have to discard a Fiend, so we'll discard Silva, and Silva will special summon itself. Now we will go ahead and return the Silva to our hand and special summon out Rainbow. Then we will return Snow to our hand to special summon out Grapha. We can then overlay these three into our Coach King Trainer, or Coach King Giant Trainer. Use Coach King's effect, get card destruction, use its effect again, get a session, use its effect one more time, and we get Zephyros. So we're finally like actually able to do the loop that we've been trying to do this whole time, which is ideal. Now let's go. You could actually, maybe you weren't supposed to use Rainbow there. Maybe you're supposed to leave Rainbow and you're supposed to use Thunderbird, because then you can return the Rainbow and special summon out the Grapha again. I think that's probably better. Not that that really matters, but just something to consider. So now let's go with the Dark World Accession. And we're actually going to banish Grapha from our graveyard and discard the Snow, because it lets you do both, I believe. Let me see. If you're fusion summoning a Dark World monster, you can also discard monsters as material. Perfect. So that will get us to our Grapha Dragon, Overlord of Dark World. So really quick note here, the Grapha here should actually be summoned over here, but you can't use the ones in the field. So this should have been summoned somewhere else. I wasn't thinking about that. This should be under here though if you're trying to maximize the efficiency, because then the Saryuja will trigger to give this an additional 300 attack. But we're going to keep going with the way we have it, which is this way. Now the Snow we discarded will trigger to add Ceruli, Guru of Dark World to our hand, and we are able to finally start looping our opponent's hand after God knows how long. So now we can, from here, how many cards do we have left in our deck? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We have 8, and we have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cards in our hand. Oof. Not ideal, but that's okay, because we're going to go ahead and link these two together to summon Muckracker from the Underworld. Yeah, that seems like the best plan so far, honestly. Do we even want to do it that way? Actually, I think we're going to link these two together to make Nightmare Phoenix. The reason being that we're going to need to have a throwaway Nightmare monster. So now we're going to card destruction away our entire hand of 7 cards, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, leaving us with 1 card left in deck. Not what you want to see. You could arguably put the Dark Spirits Mastery face down. You probably should actually put the Dark Spirits Mastery face down, discarding 6, leaving you with 2 cards left in deck. And you draw into Radiant, Rainbow, Dark Spirits Mastery, Archives, and Mastery. But the key here is that you're going to then special summon Ceruli and special summon Silva. And then Ceruli will activate, and you can discard your Rainbow off the Ceruli's effect. It won't get its effect, obviously, and that's fine. Or you could actually discard your Archives, I guess, because it doesn't really matter which one you discard. Or is it just any card? I think it's just 1 card. Discard 1 card. So we're just going to discard our Dark Spirits Mastery. Now we're going to return Silva to our hand to special summon Rainbow, of course. That's very normal. And we can then go into our Akashic Magician using Nightmare Phoenix and Rainbow, or Grapha and Rainbow actually I think is better, because then it gives us the ability to return the Rainbow to our hand. Akashic Magician will then return the Ceruli to our hand yet again, totally fine, because we are going to then link the, we're gonna, how do we do this? This is tough. This is tough, let me tell you. We're gonna actually return the Gates of Dark World to our hand to special summon back Blackwing Zephyros the Elite. We're gonna use the Gates of Dark World, and we're gonna banish our Nightmare Phoenix, discarding Cerulean and drawing a card. Cerulean will then special summon itself, which will then trigger Cerulean, letting us discard Silva and special summoning Silva, which will reduce their cards in hand to 3. Now that they've used a monster effect, is that Talents? Talents is the last card in our deck. That's really rough. So we're actually going to end up having to leave them with 2 cards in the deck because the only card left in our deck is the Triple Tactics Talent, which is not what we want to have there. Did I put back cards off? I did. I did put back the Talents. That was a mistake. So actually, this is an example of what happens when you misplay. I put back the Talents by mistake, but that's okay. So now we will return the Silva to our hand to special summon Grapha. Then we will link the Grapha and the Zephyros into Security Dragon. Security Dragon will return Cerulean to hand yet again. And then we can go into a... We'll use our Accession Engrave. Use Accession's effect, discarding Cerulean, special summon the Cerulean, which will then, of course, discard and special summon Silva, reducing their hand to 1. Then we will return the Silva to hand to special summon the Grapha. You can then overlay the Grapha and the Rainbow into your copy of number 38, if you would like. The issue doing that then is that you don't have the ability to fusion summon, but that's okay because they're still stuck with a Cerulean on the field. And you can go into... I'm trying to think if there's a way to do anything else that's like worthwhile. You could... Is there a way to get a level 4 on the field? I don't think so. I think we're pretty much at the end of our turn there. They'll draw to 2 cards. You're going to have the Cerulean. They'll have to deal with the number 38, the Grapha, and everything else. But that's an example of actually how to play the deck and misplay with it. I totally messed up. They should have had no cards in hand. I should not have put the Talents back. I should have kept it in hand or put it back not at the bottom of the deck. That's actually something to keep in mind when you're using cards like Saryuja, is the order you put the cards back in actually does really matter. So if this had been anything other than the last card in deck, I would have drawn it, and then I would have been able to rip the last card in their hand out of their hand. They would have had 0 cards, drawn to 1 card with just Cerulean, had to deal with number 38, Grapha, a handful of cards, and everything else. But that's actually a really good example of what of the importance of sequencing. So we're going to leave that in there. If you guys like this sort of content, like I said, please let me know down below. I really enjoy doing these sort of kind of fun little combo hands, and they're almost like dual puzzles, trying to figure out how to do, you know, like your full combo. If you guys have any questions or concerns, let me know, and I will get back to you as soon as I can. And until next time, have a wonderful evening.